So this video is going to be about phone addiction, which is it's not as bad as you think. It's more of like your the phone addiction is not the problem. There is something else underneath there. So it's like you're hiding something. So the problem isn't necessarily the phone. It's more of like what happens if I don't use the phone? What thoughts come up if I don't use the phone? So it's two things. One is like it's kind of work related, right? So it just disappears. So it's work related, and you do need a phone. So if you're having like other health conditions because you're just overworked, that's one thing. But if it's not that, if you're just like on social media a lot or you're just on it a lot, like again, the phone isn't a problem. There's other things that you're probably thinking about, especially if you're watching this video. There's other things that happen to you that you there's other things that you're addicted to that you're not that maybe you don't want to admit to yourself that you don't want to admit to other people that you don't want to talk about. So the phone addiction is usually not not the biggest issue. So like if you were to like meditate for a few minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, like what thoughts come up? Um, what are you trying to run away from? Like, addiction is usually like you're trying not to feel something. So that's usually when an addiction happens. Um, and it's kind of like you're trying to numb yourself. So when you're using your phone, you're not thinking about all those things that you're trying to run away from. The same thing with food is the same thing with, everything else. And you should also take a look at if you have like a neurotic personality type, how do you handle negative stimuli? Do you get overwhelmed with uh, with negative thoughts and things like that? So I would I would want to I would talk to a therapist about the things that I am trying to avoid, things that I feel ashamed about, things that I feel embarrassed about, and try to go deeper into that and why doing those things relieves some of the stress and relieves some tension. So if there's anything, and also if there's anything that I'm hiding, anything that I don't want to talk about, I would I would try to find the courage to talk about that thing, because we always have to have our voice heard at one point in our life. So if in childhood we felt like our voice wasn't heard, and then you go your entire life without that, like at one point that need has to be met. You have to have your emotions validated, your fears validated, even your positive emotions validated. Somebody has to tell you that it's not wrong to feel that way. So that's what I would do. I would ask like, what am I hiding? What don't I want people to know? I would meditate to find those thoughts. If you're having thoughts of like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, meditation is always good too, because all those thoughts usually come to the surface. You could also work with somebody who understands internal family systems therapy, and they will take a look at like, they will try to unblend the parts so everybody thinks that they're just one person, but we're actually like an accumulation of parts that formed from traumas, split consciousness. This is all theoretical. So the consciousness splits. We have all these parts that we shoved away. We shoved away certain parts of ourselves that we thought were weak, and then we have certain parts, and then we have other parts that protect those vulnerable parts. So we're all just like split. Um, and that's why we can't remember certain things. That's why we don't know why we're sick or why we're addicted because all that information is put away and stored in our subconscious because it was too difficult to emotionally um, handle that when we were kids. And then when you're older now, you have to go back and deal with all that trauma. So yeah, that's my take on phone addiction. Um, because if you don't have any of those other things that I said, um, the phone, if you are addicted to your phone, it shouldn't be that difficult to stop. It usually there's a lot of other stuff underneath, and it needs to be explored through that shadow work, understanding the shadow, understanding the unconscious, understanding what happened to you. Yeah, I think this should be sufficient for now. Yeah.